it's very nice to have all of you here in the panel as well, and you can all make it. I think it's a very nice panel on policy. We have all the relevant actors that we need. And I want to start very shortly with a short introduction of yourself. Give me your background and your current touch points with Hyperloop, so you may know what you've done in the past and maybe why you are now part of this panel here. And I think we'll start with you, Inigo.
Thank you, Lukas. I know you know me already, Inigo Cruz, European Commission. I've been working in the rail sector for 14 years already. Oh, time flies. Particularly in the Commission for the last 7 years, dealing with Hyperloop for the last 3 in particular. So I guess I'm the policy officer of the Commission, the contact point for all the Hyperloop matters there.
Perfect, Judit.
Good morning to everyone. My name is Judit Sándor, and I work for the Europe's joint undertaking. So this is a PPP, a European PPP. So it's partially funded by the European Commission, and the other part is financed by the European railway sector. And within the program of the Europe's Rail Joint Undertaking, as Sasha already presented, there is a flagship Area 7, which is focusing on innovative guided transport solutions, where Hyperloop is also covered. So that's why we are also dealing with the topic Hyperloop. And as Inigo said, I have been also working on the rail subject for many years, for 15 years almost. And then on Hyperloop, I started 5 years ago. And I'm very happy to be here the first time. And looking forward to the discussion.
I am Juan de Dios Sanz. I'm professor at the Technical University of Madrid. I started in the railway research and innovation in 1982 and in the standardization activity in 1998. At this moment, I am involved in the Hyperloop as chairman of the Sanz and LA GTC20, and also I combine my experience with the Euro Region Undertaking as member of the scientific steering group. Now.
Good morning, everyone. Almost good afternoon. My name is André Freitas. I'm a consultant. I work in a consultancy company based in Lisbon. It is called TIS. And my current link with Hyperloop is I'm work package leader of the work package devoted to the network design and development of business cases in Hyperloop.
We'll come to that later. Very good. Part that you're working in Hyperloop now as well. But let's dive into the opportunities and the vision that we have for Hyperloop. And I just want to have a quick explanation from all of you. Where does Hyperloop fit for you? I want to have a personal and a professional opinion. You have 2 sides. Where do you see Hyperloop for yourselves? Where do you want it at the end? And then where do you see it professionally? And maybe, André, we can start with you. So maybe with your fit, where does Hyperloop fit in the TNT regulation, and what are the strategic integration points for Hyperloop in the broader EU ecosystem?
You've asked before about my current link. My first link with Hyperloop came some years ago when I was working for the evaluation of the TNT regulation, and I got in contact with industry partners like Carlo Borghini from the JU, some of the Hyperloop developers that were here on the stage, like Juan. I remember speaking with Juan about the relevance of supporting a strong EU industry around the Hyperloop and supporting these students that won competitions, that form startups, and that grow from there. And we have some students here as well, so they might be also feel inspired by that legacy. Speaking about the TNT regulation, well, the new TNT regulation was published last year in June 2024. One of the novelties compared to the previous one is a placeholder that was included in the TNT regulation, giving some stimulus to the development of new technologies like the Hyperloop. It was not considered a full-fledged transport mode, as some Hyperloop developers would wish, or something like a guided transport mode. But nevertheless, it's a stimulus I believe that the EU legislators wanted to keep pace with the new technology development. They thought, well, the TNT regulation would be in place for, well, at least 10 years. 2024, 2030, 34 would probably be already too late for this, so let's put here a placeholder and and give some stimulus to the developers, to the industry members, to navigate through the so-called valley of death, and in the meantime, to align themselves on key standards, on key requirements. I think this is pretty much what we are doing.
So you wanted to evolve quickly and have a quick EU regulation on this, right?
Yes, just to say that in the meantime, it's important to come up with a strong safety case for Hyperloop, a strong business case as well.
Okay, I think we'll come up on that later as well. Juan, maybe you can tell us from the perspective, from your perspective for cargo, passenger transport, how would these be integral to European TNT network? I think you're worked mainly in rail, but you have a lot of expertise there as well.
Yes, in my opinion, when we are thinking about the Hyperloop, it is clear that it is a compatible mode in the European framework. It's a complementary mode, in particular covering the gaps between the high speed and the aviation. This is the natural understood. If we think about the cargo and the passenger, it is clear also that Hyperloop offers a possibility when we are thinking in metropolitan areas, cities, where the high-speed rail is not consistent or is not servicing at this moment in the territory, or when the city areas are constrained by the airport capacities. So I think that Hyperloop opened the door to this connectivity that is perfectly compatible with the existing ecosystem of the transport. If we are thinking in the cargo, in my opinion, we are offering a high-speed concept, so this is necessary to be linked to the high-value transport cargo. It is a handicap, because cargo assume, if you see what happened in the ecosystem of the transport, you are assuming that the cargo is in a container way, and the container is too heavy or not to be transported by the Hyperloop. If we are thinking in high value delivery packaging, maybe we need to find in half of the container. It's better to think in 200 kilos more than 14 tons. It is easier for the Hyperloop. In any case, what is the result of the cargo? The combination is to find a cooperation in an intelligent, collaborative, multimodal platform. What is exactly at this moment the concept of the transport ecosystem in the European Union? Regarding to the TNT, it is necessary to find a way of the compatibility between the concept of interoperability and the safety and their operation, and it is a handicap for the Hyperloop, and it is an opportunity for all the transport ecosystem. If we open the door to interoperability, we can be supported by the maturity and expertise of the railway system, and we can find a better way to open the Hyperloop to the TNT. But I think that this is the kind of conference in which we need to get a consensus from the previous panel and the previous work after that, in which maybe this discussion could be exploited in a better way.
Yep, interesting. I think since our institute mostly focused on cargo as well, we've been looking into combining it with the physical internet, because there you have already container sizes and so on, so you're talking about that. There might be a nice integration for Hyperloop there as well, but we can push for that, although many people see, first of all, the passenger use case, and then, but there's people as well. Judit, to you. From your lessons learned from European railway development and all the research and technical and regulation advancements in Hyperloop, what do you think, how can Hyperloop benefit from that, and what can we learn from it, and how can we advance faster? We've heard that it might be quicker, how can we advance faster than traditional modes?
So first, I also would like to say, because you asked what is our personal link with Hyperloop. So as I said, this is my fourth conference on Hyperloop. So the first one was in Busan, and one of the workshops was focusing on how Hyperloop is going to evolve in the coming years. And then there were two scenarios discussed, saying that one Hyperloop promoter gets the technology right very quickly, and then this is going to lead then the development of Hyperloop. So they are going to dictate how Hyperloop is going to look like. Or the industry sits together, creates a platform where they discuss and try to harmonize and agree on a common concept. And I think that, so this, for me, this is a very good conference today, because then I see then this approach that building the platform, having a common technical as well as economic and social economic discussions between the promoters is ongoing, and it's working. And for me, this is a very, I consider it as a success also from JU's point of view, because this is what we were really pushing for and what we were aiming for. And this is also what I think it's very important that we can learn from the railways, because railways, as it was already discussed previously, historically, they were national systems. So, and then every country has developed its own system or signaling system or national rules for their for their national operation. But then when we are talking about a European solution, then we see that it becomes very challenging to harmonize them. So for Hyperloop, this is one of the, I think, the key takeaway, that try to harmonize and try to look for an interoperable and, as Juan also mentioned, an interoperable solution that you will not have this challenge to harmonize, because in the JU we now spend quite a lot of amount of money, amount of effort, experts to harmonize the European rail system. So if you have the opportunity to do it in an early stage, do it, because this is going to bring then all the economic benefit as well. As Sasha presented in the Hyper4Rail project, the benefit that such a network effect could bring, this you can only achieve if you have agreed on a concept, then you can build this network, and then you can have this economic benefit. But if you have different concepts, patchwork solutions, then all this economic benefit will not be realized. So that's why I think it's very important that you think in a global and harmonized perspective, rather than just focusing on your own company development. And as also during the coffee break, I talked to Sasha, and he said that there is quite a openness and willingness from the promoters to choose the most interesting and economically feasible and technically proven concept within the project. And this is very good, because what we can also see in other sectors, that it's very difficult for one company to give up its own solution, its own technology, because they invested already a lot, because they have spent quite a lot of effort. So then the harmonization is very difficult. So
and we're trying to do that, and I hope that we are achieving that. We might not be as fast as ERJU hopes for it, and we might say that we need more money, and I think I'm speaking for everybody from the last panel.
Yeah, that's for sure. That so it's a step-by-step approach.
Yeah, we'll try, and we'll try to get as much as possible, as quickly as possible to you. And I think we are talking about the next steps as well. Inigo, let's talk to you as well. From the European Commission view, is there a framework for new modes of transport, like a greenfield approach that we have for Hyperloop right now? Does something exist? And what can we learn, and how can we make it fast for us for Hyperloop in regulatory sense? Maybe as fast as we need, but not too fast?
Well, from our perspective on regulatory and policy, I would say that Hyperloop is fantastic because it allows us to use our favorite words. I mean, you know, in the Commission we have a lot of buzzwords. For instance, greenfield. Fantastic, greenfield technology. Yuppie. Then we got it. Hyperloop brings that on the table. But also other buzzwords that we have is, for instance, the lessons learned. What is synonym of trauma, usually? I mean, we have plenty of traumas with our transport modes. So I mentioned it before. I mean, especially I'm coming from rail, so I mean, just it's a fact. ERTMS started to be developed in the 90s, late 80s, 90s, and since then we've been saying that it's the moment of ERTMS now or never, and that was been said at the early 2000s. Now we're 2025 and we got Belgium, Luxembourg that they adopt this signaling system, but still many other countries are missing. And sometimes we got that non-EU countries, they have more ERTMS kilometers than Europe. Just to showcase you an example of a promising technology, what it was called a greenfield technology because it was a new idea, but it was not so green, the field, because there were existing systems, and that creates some hard lessons on that. And it was something that it could be touched. So when we're talking about regulation and policy, that's the big thing. I mean, we see the potential, we see the support that we are giving to the Hyperloop through the Hyper4Rail money and also with the common projects. But this is challenging. I mean, the European Commission and the European regulation was designed to solve existing problems. So if we have to untangle lots of national regulations, we got the tools. But when we have to define new technologies, something that is completely greenfield, we lack the capacity. Here we are a bit tight on that part. So that's the challenge for us, that we need concrete elements that we can help you to untangle and to regulate. So we need to find a compromise between what is existing, what it could be, and what can be done from our side.
Maybe just going on to the next part there, what do you think, what's the balance between technological readiness and policy readiness? Which one should lead and how could we go for Hyperloop there?
I think that they should go hand by hand. I mean, and now we are learning that lesson. I think, we have the Directive for Artificial Intelligence that now needs some amendment because we realize it was a great effort from our side, but just to give you an example how difficult it is to regulate things that are changing by the minute, because laws are not designed to be changed by the minute. So that's one of part, but also at the same time we have developed ideas like the sandboxes, the test beds, that will allow us to prove new technologies within some parameters, helping to develop the rules that govern these new technologies. So I don't think that one should be on top of the other. They should go hand by hand. But it's true that for that we require a certain level of maturity at the level of the technology. Some of you know that we did a serious attempt to create a regulation for Hyperloop, but when we were doing it, we ran the impact assessment study. We realized that the technology was not mature enough to produce a regulation. So, and that was the big handicap that we have to face. So now we are looking forward to see soon this maturity in the technology so we can work in parallel to offer a legal framework and you can offer a real Hyperloop solution.
We'll work on that. We'll make something happen. Maybe to that point, Juan, can you tell us a little bit about what's the current state of, for example, JTC20's work on Hyperloop, and then how you see technological readiness of Hyperloop right now with your background in rail that you have had so many research projects already?
Okay. I think the first question is how do we need the standard and why do we need the regulation? Standard is necessary because this is the basic status of the quality assurance in the European single market. and of course, to get the minimum consensus to provide a win-to-win solution in an open competition in the world. How do we need the regulation? Because we are in Europe, we decided to proceed with the conformity evaluation when we have safety requirements to be tested against some means of verification. So it is clear that the standardization, certification, and regulation have a link. It was very difficult to create the GTC20. Maybe Juan was from the beginning in the topic, and the first question is how to allocate Hyperloop, because Hyperloop is new, is from a technical point of view is a platypus or ornithorhynchus. So at the beginning of the concept, we think in the aviation, in the submarine, in the rail, but at the end we define Hyperloop as a guided transport. Very good, because guided transport is the domain of the railway in the land transportation system. So we find how to integrate Hyperloop in the standardization ecosystem. So we create GTC20. GTC20, the first homework for us was to analyze what set of standard of the existing standard in the transport system will be available and maybe usable for the Hyperloop. Then we create a technical report on the standardization that could be the start point from the standardization roadmap of the Hyperloop. In parallel, we start with a different standard document, one to define what is Hyperloop as a transport mode, because we spoke every day, we speak every day, and at the end we need to define what is Hyperloop when we are defining as a transport system. So we have a standard where you can find what is the capabilities of the Hyperloop in terms of speed, in terms of the cargo, passenger, and the necessary actor to define the value chain of the ecosystem of the Hyperloop. Okay, this is one, very good, but we need to put in the land, and we need the technology part. So we need to arise the standard concept is the consensus. Every promoter of Hyperloop has a different approach. Every actor in the Hyperloop has a different perception, so we need to get a consensus to define the minimum set of requirements and characteristics to define what is Hyperloop. This is the other set of standards. Now we are today very happy because after a call for establishing a work group for safety, we have been received a positive answer from 21 standardization bodies in Europe. So it is clear that once that we have introduced the concept and we have introduced the important word safety, it seems that the standardization start to be consistent on the roadmap for the Hyperloop technology. So this is the status of today. What is the link with this other open aspect that we need to concrete to go to the certification? And this is other difficult point, because what means certification? Okay, when you define certification, you need to demonstrate technical competency. Very good. What is the technical competency? You need to define what is the minimum set of the requirement, and you need to provide the means of verification. Now the standards are used again to be part of this means of verification. So what is at the end, if we want to continue in the concept, in the framework of the TNT and the framework of the European transport ecosystem, we need to adopt the regulation. I think we are in a long way to this, because we need to create the basis for the standard to be used as means of verification for testing component, for testing principle, for provide architecture mode before to proceed with the conformity evaluation of the system.
And maybe, André, you can tell us a little bit about what are the risks that we face there with how to get there? What are the key technological and operational risks that we still have and in the process?
A lot of them. Well, my colleagues, panelists have been speaking mostly about the technological, regulatory / standards risks. Perhaps I would add the financial ones. I think that one analogy that I like to use is the one that was coined by one of the partners of the Hyper4L project, that is the chicken and the egg dilemma. So the investors want reassurance for this, they need a basic regulation, also to give reassurance to them, to member states as well. Well, the decision makers are reluctant on doing this because they need some certainty from the developers, from the technological side. So these three elements go pair in pair. Probably I would add a fourth layer of risk that is concerned to societal aspects. So related with the reluctance of using an Hyperloop service. I think this is, we started to investigate this in the Hyper4Rail project, but I believe we are just scratching the surface there. But well, the risks, I would say that they are proportionate to the investment needs. They are massive. They are massive. If I would single out one stakeholder with bearing more risk, I would probably say the member states, especially because all mega projects entail risks, but especially cross-border projects entail quite a lot of risks for political risks for the member state representatives, which is why it's important. We have heard today, this morning, also in the conversation that I had yesterday, political will is relevant. Having the buy-in from member states is very, very valuable, I would say.
Yeah, so I think there is a risk there of maybe investing money, but I think there's also a big risk of not investing it, and for example, looking at China, how quickly they are in developing, and
opportunity risks.
There's a big opportunity risk there that we can face, and I think that's what Klaus always is talking about every time. Judit, from your perspective, you are overseeing the Hyper4Rail call that we are now developing. What do you think is the optimal outcome, and which results do you really want to see from Hyper4Rail? Is there anything that you can single out where you say, okay, focus on this would be the most important part?
So I think Sasha already presented the objectives, and then saying that having an operational concept is one of the key outcome of the project. I do believe that the one project is just one part of the building block. So you may not find a silver bullet in this project, but at least it's very important that you identify already some scenarios, and then you identify what are the benefits, the gains of the different operational concepts, and then which one would work in which scenarios, in use cases. So, but what is very important as well, that you have to find, so this is one of the first projects that is funded within the EU, and this is also showing your credibility. So that's why you have to perform, you have to bring already results up front. It has to be scientifically proven. You have to show that what you are building on is technically also stable, because if you lose credibility, it will also have an impact on the long run. So that's why I encourage all the consortium members to think when you are, for instance, working on the concept, that you may not find a perfect solution within the project, but if you delay, or if you don't try to find a common position, it might have consequences on the long run, also at a political level, and also in your views where you would like to be in 20 years' time.
Okay, noted down, concept of operations, and
but also I think the business case part is also important.
Let's hear the business case. André is sitting with us. He can tell us something about the preliminary findings of the business case.
Well, the business case is one sub-activity of all the research streams in the project. We are aiming towards the development of 3 distinct business cases. The reference for these business cases is the network design that Sasha has already presented. So you already have a visual image of how the network could look like. And Sasha and the team from HART has developed a network with different layers. So one comprehensive network linking all major airports, one linking all EU capitals, and then a subset of this network that's call it the core network, to use the TNT as a reference. Then the core, expanded core, and the comprehensive. The core network is the suggested optimal from the net present value perspective, and gives us a short list of 2 business cases to explore. One linking Madrid to Rome, an horizontal layer, then a vertical axis from the northern side of Italy towards Netherlands. In the business case one, that is the one that we have already developed, but is still in a draft version, so still needs to be validated within the group and by external participants as well. We have, well, first thing to say is that this is a simplified one, so with a lot of assumptions behind, one of which is, for instance, high level of technology readiness, so everything is set to go. Another one is high societal acceptance for the Hyperloop, at least at the level of aviation. So we have modeled using a demand model with a logic-based model from taking into consideration the data set from aviation. We have modeled the demand, and the main result is positive. I mean, when I say that it's a simplified business case, it's not that we are going to present this to secure investments from a potential investor, but it gives a direction of, is it worth progressing, or should someone pull the plug, which I don't think is the case.
So you say there's a business case, you have the major...
I believe there is a business case, of course, with some
connections to major airports, major cities.
Yes, well, the ambition for the time being, there are capacity issues along the high-speed network, but we have not progressed in that direction, especially because the Commission is working on a new regulation for railway capacity management. We have looked to sections where there is not, and there are no plans for high-speed rail links. So we have focused on the link between Marseille and Rome, with some intermediate stops in between, in Nice, Genoa, and Pisa, before reaching Rome. We have discussed and made a comparative analysis of advantages and disadvantages about the length of the corridor, and where would be the anchors where would the stations be located. And yes, some of them are located at airports, especially Nice and Fiumicino. Nice in a station that is close enough to the city center, actually a station that has now been awarded 1 month ago by SF to study the multimodal passenger apps, which is a very high level of importance for Hyperloop developers to see how to start studying the feasibility and to understand how they are going to intersect with the last mile services. So we position Hyperloop basically in general as a feeder for existing high-speed rail networks, like the link between Paris and Marseille, as a feeder of future investments already in place, like the connection from Genoa to Milan, or the Lyon-Turin, as a feeder also of long-haul flights, helping the airliners to focus on the most profitable segment, air segment, it is the long haul, and capturing part of the demand. We are foreseeing less than what Sasha has presented there. We are more conservative, something around 22% of short-haul flights, abstracting some part of the expected growth, because if you look to the EU reference scenario from the Commission, you will see that the segment that is foreseen to grow more sharply, more significantly in the future is the short-haul flight. That is the one that is the more environmental harming.
So a very interesting point that you have airports connected, but also so that you have replacement for short-haul flights, but also have the feeders for rail, where high-speed rail does not exist in Europe. It's more of a complementary mode.
Position the Hyperloop basically as a pan-European connector, maximizing the catchment area of existing and future high-speed rail links and long-haul flights.
Okay, great.
This is the fil rouge.
I think when we are getting all of that right, I think Judit, you have a point, but maybe you can answer my question as well. What is coming after that? If we have the business case, when we have the business case now, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. We have the business case, we have the concept of operation, and we have agreed on a roadmap for harmonization. What is coming after that? Do we have
I think this is indeed what I wanted to come back to. So I think the having a roadmap, it was also discussed by the promoters before, and I think this is a very important step to also not to just think of the quick wins or the first steps that you need to do, but also looking into the long run. And I'm very interested, for instance, to better understand what is this program that the promoters mentioned, because this is also part of the Hyper4Rail project to look for the industrial roadmap. So building up each element of the building blocks in order to have a Hyperloop system deployed and running. So definitely this long-term program could be also relevant for the JU, for the Commission, and also for understanding the financing mechanisms and opportunities for the future if we have a robust and well-defined program.
Is there any future calls, any future money we can look at that comes when we finish this as a motivation?
So the next one is going to be very specific. So there's going to be an opportunity early next year, 2026. I would say that Klaus made a very good exercise also at European level to promote the need of Hyperloop. So, and in the European Parliament, they allocated 3 million euros to a research project related to safety. So it's going to be very specific for safety. And now we are working on defining the scope. So you will be able to see the call text end of this year, and then it will be published end of January, beginning of February next year. So I think that it's very important that it also builds on the already ongoing activities of Hyper4Rail. So definitely there is a need to make a bridge. Also a very close link with the JTC20 and the safety working group, because this is also one of our objectives. So that we know that, especially you already mentioned that you have resource issues and then allocating experts to standardization. Sometimes it's very demanding. So that's why this kind of European project can also help the sector to invest and then give funding to those areas which maybe for the industry is not considered as a high priority. On the other hand, as we just discussed, it's very important.
Yeah.
So
there's ideas, and maybe we can tell Juan that we can think more about in standardization what we need at the end, because it might be taken up by ERJU to finance that then. So let's try that route as well. André, we have, but I've heard you yesterday talk about innovative finance mechanism as well, partnerships for Hyperloop, how to come to the next crucial steps of commercial realization. There was some emissions ideas, tell us more about it.
This funding is quite relevant at this stage from the European Parliament, from the JU. When we move to a specific corridor program, then we will need to blend funding sources, that's for sure, and the share of private funding will need to increase. But the public funding will still be relevant. Because it is likely, like the preliminary results of the corridor between Rome and Marseille suggest, that there will be, although there will be a very positive socioeconomic viability, there will be certain viability there, but from a pure financial perspective, likely the investments will remain above the threshold of 1. So there will be a need. There will always be a need to close that gap. And for that end, in the business case, we identify a portfolio of future investment sources, public and private. we brainstorm about the eventual creation of a Hyperloop bank similar to the Hyperloop one for de-risking, and well, it's not a bank in the usual terms, but a financial instrument, but to provide upfront capital, because this will be needed, because the level of revenues will be significant, but they will be diluted over time, over an extended time. So there is this need. So we made a proposal of combination of established funding sources and new ones. I believe including the investments from the concessionaires of the stations of the apps, like the airports. This is something that I also stressed yesterday. They can, instead of investing, or similar to Fiumicino, for instance, they have a master plan in place for building a new runway. It's a €5 billion project integrated into a wider €12 billion project, including last mile services. So what if they channeled all this investment, or part of this investment, towards the creation of an Hyperloop station integrated under the same terminal? Yep. So yes, the ETS, I believe the emission trading system could be one solution. It's where we can find the amount of money that might be needed for Hyperloop in the future. It makes sense from an environmental perspective as well. So we are, especially now that the value of carbon is increasing quite sharply, so there will be a quite significant amount of revenues there that might be channeled and invested in low carbon transport service like Hyperloop, if the member states, because this part of these resources is managed by member states, if there is the willingness to do so.
Yeah, I think this last idea is very interesting. What do you think of this idea, Inigo? And then maybe one, as a last point before we go to questions, you can tell us what is missing to convince European policymakers to invest more into Hyperloop and to put more regulatory support.
Let me reply with one word. Despacito. You know the song, right? Everybody knows the song. But come on, it's a typical Latin American song. It's not so special if you listen to the lyrics. But it got something different. It got timing. I mean, the key part of this song is that in the word despacito, they introduce a break in the middle of the word. When you're expecting that they end the word, they just stop. It's a minimal stop, and then they continue. With that, they raised the attention of everyone, and it became a worldwide success. So I think that's the missing element for Hyperloop in connection with policy, finding the right timing, the right moment. I mean, green technology, promising. I think that, and I'm convinced that as a sector, you will deliver. But the question is when. When is the right moment? And also for the finance, because now, for instance, we are discussing the next multi-annual financial framework. So maybe we have 1 year window in order to get some finance structure in favor of Hyperloop. I don't know. I mean, I'm afraid that it will be on you to lobby your governments, because they are the ones who have the final word on the finance. But also technology level and demonstration. The fact that, well, maybe sooner than later we will have to deliver. So, and also from the policy perspective, now the circumstances, maybe they are not the best ones to showcase the advantages of Hyperloop. Sometimes it's just lost in the middle of many other policy activities, but maybe tomorrow something will change and it will come the right moment. And you have to be there. So that's the missing element, finding the right moment in order to get your message through, and that people, policymakers, those who take the decision, see Hyperloop as the solution that they need. I think that 1 year ago it was Mario Draghi who published his report and mentioned Hyperloop as an example of breakthrough technology. So he saw the potential, but since then, also Mario Draghi's plan is looking for its timing, because it's a bit dragging its feet for some other reasons. So yeah, you need to look for it. Now there is a high-speed communication, high-speed rail communication that has been published. If not today, this week is going to be published. So maybe you need to find the time or the moment to introduce the Hyperloop within that context, to become that solution, at least from my humble perspective.
Nice one. Let's open the floor up to questions from the audience. Raise your hand. Maybe we have also got Hyperloop promoters that want to chime in. Because we have you on the first panel, and we want to have you interact with this panel as well.
Please also say your name, who you are, where you are from, what you are doing, and then you can ask your question.
Well, I'm Javier Gomez from Universidad Politecnica de Madrid, also a member for JTC 20. I would like to ask, we've been talking lots of the Europe ecosystem for Hyperloop. What's at international level? Are we making any new policies on standardization in ISO, or also would an international move like kick up the Commission to make more investments on this?
Very interesting one. I think we couldn't get that to one, and also like we can integrate China and other people there, right? Okay, I sound that.
This is, I think that it is a very interesting point because, as you very well know, we are in a career with China. China is at this moment prototyping system. They have a test site, so they are selling the idea of a real test facility, and this is true. In meantime, including during this year, the conversation between China delegation and standardization, we have a conversation how about the ideas to create an ISO committee for standardization, not only in Hyperloop, but also focus on the magnetic levitation, because they are leading the activity of magnetic levitation standardization part, not in ISO, not in IIC, but yes in IEEE. So this is possible. What is the problem? First of all, the problem is that when you are going to create a committee, you need to be clear what is the scope of the committee. The first idea is, are we ready from Europe to lead a committee in ISO? Because if you want to create a committee, you need, in a similar condition, you need five opinions in favor, okay? Maybe one from the European Commission and supported by European standardization body to arrange the committee. China could be okay. Maybe it's easy to create the foundation of the ISO committee. But are the European ecosystem ready to support the competition with China in the standardization? Because if you create the standard, let me say that is similar to the autonomous vehicle, if you are creating the standard, you are creating the means of the certification. So you are adopting the technology. So this is an open question, very interesting. I think it's a key point. And as Inigo said before, the question is if we are on time. We cannot lose more time. We need to create, consolidate, and produce a realistic ecosystem, promote a very good consistent in the ecosystem, but we need to populate the Hyperloop ecosystem with the infrastructure manager, the operator, and the policy decision. Because in any other case, maybe we have this conference, the next one, and the next one, and maybe we are in the same luck.
So it is an interesting concept to have maybe an ISO committee on Hyperloop, maybe specific topics. You've made a funny face at the beginning. Is that something you would say might be interesting to support? Maybe with India, we've seen a lot of efforts there, just to collaborate on a broader scale and maybe open more channels than we, on this other side, maybe do not want politically or so?
Well, let's be realistic. Europe has a burden on it that we tend to play by the rules. Not everybody plays by the rules. I won't say names, but aside coming from rail, we have a very nice example. We have the ERTMS, European Rail Traffic Management System. What do they have in China? The Chinese version of ERTMS. They just copy it, and they adopted their own thing. They couldn't impose this solution because they were after hours. But my view is that if they manage to get a working solution for Hyperloop, they will set the standard, and they won't go international. They will impose the market. So Europeans, we tend to agree with others. So maybe there are other partners, there are other countries that, the ones we could negotiate and set a common set of standards. But when we're talking with a giant like China, it's going to be very difficult unless we get there first and we showcase that our technology is the solution. So on that side, Chinese government and authorities have proven to be very practical. They will adopt it. But in the meantime, let's see who is going to be first on that part.
So let's try to make a European standard, European harmonization, and then export it. Any further questions? Okay, maybe as one word, your one wish that you would have to the whole Hyperloop ecosystem as the end. Despacito, concept of operations, maybe harmonization, like one word that you say, one wish that you would have to everyone. Whoever thinks of a word first can start. Is it harmonization? Is it more partners? Big players?
No?
Realization? Realization? Okay.
Integration.
Integration?
Perhaps securing the buy-in of other partners, having a more heterogeneous audience in the future for this conference. And Judit was speaking about the meeting with the member state authorities. That's a very good point. Event with the Commission and the joint undertaking could help organizing multi-sectoral, high-level strategic dialogues on the key implementation steps.
More partners there? And your last word?
Yes, simple one. Union of efforts, technology, approaches.
A good word for the European Union. Thank you very much, and we'll hand over to Martin to announce something.